Can you see my screen, Dr. Revis?
Yes, I sure can.
Okay, Dr. Revis, let's go ahead and get started. We got a lot to cover.
Okay. All right. Welcome, guys, to week 7, and you are halfway through this class. Yay, right? And for most of you, you have already completed your AAPSL, and I know Dr. Stedman was telling me that he has several in his classes that have already uploaded and received a score from the evaluator. So yay, you've really reached your first big milestone in this program. And so what we're going to start on tonight is going to be, we're going to talk about your case study that you have to do, and it ties along with the work of the AAPSL. And we're going to introduce you to task 1 of the AAPTEL. Okay. So comments about task 5. I had a few people who were a little confused because task 5 threw us off our routine a little bit. And so I had several people who didn't get anything in for me to review until Sunday afternoon. And that was when the final was due. But I think we all straightened out now. Still have a few of you who need to get that finished up and put all of your work together. I will tell you that for my part, some of you are waiting for me to give you review on tasks 1 through 5. I will start reviewing those this evening after class. Turnitin was down for a couple of days, and I didn't want to do anything. And you start trying to get into Turnitin and get really frustrated and confused. So I will get those cleared out after class today. Dr. Stedman?
Okay, and you're right, Dr. Revis. I have to say, for the most part, kudos to both my groups. I have had many, probably about half, that I have cleared. Many of them have already submitted to Taskstream. Very successful. All of them that I've gotten grades back on would be considered an A, but they range from 3.6, 3.8 to the rest being 4.0s at this point. I did go back and I looked at some of the comments from the evaluators, and task 2, they looked at the very strictly. One of the evaluators did at the disaggregation of data and how intense that process was. Another, they looked at task 5, but they did not feel like, even though you had delineated between the coursework and your clinical experience, they did not feel like that the clinical experience was as strong as it should have been. So they take it seriously, the jobs that they do.
And let me piggyback on that. I think where some of the confusion's coming in is because you can count some of your clinical hours from the AAPSL in your clinical work, that you are writing about the AAPSL for your clinical reflection. And you shouldn't be doing that. And we didn't say anything about that or make that distinction, but your evaluators are going to be looking at the work of the AAPSL, being work with your PLCs and disaggregating data and doing research. And if you also use something from your AAPSL and for your clinical hours, they don't see the difference. So be sure.
Go ahead. They're looking for leadership.
Right. And so be sure when you are saying from my clinical experiences, don't put a reflection from your AAPSL in the clinical experiences.
And Dr. Revis, at this point, when you submit, when you submit at the midnight hour, there's no time to go back and to we got you at we said that our job was we won't accomplish work, but we got you at proficient. So, you're in the safe harbor, but you should always strive for accomplished work. So that's what I have seen so far. And we'll stress this more when those that have already finished, when you get to the AAPTEL, we'll stress it more. Dr. Revis, would you comment on, just go back and do just some regroup on the competency folio and the internship requirements?
Sure.
Excuse
Let
me.
me share.
I'm going to stop share. Okay.
I think first what I'd like to do, if it's okay, let's look at the clinical. I got a question this week about how do I document my AAPSL work on my clinical log. So let me talk about that first. Is that okay, Dr. Stedman?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. So this is an example. It is in the tab where your clinical support materials are. So you see this entry, 823, met with principal to discuss the scope of the AAPSL work, received permission, and discuss PLC members. Now, you don't see that I've got just a lump together and say work of the AAPSL and put down 40 hours. No. You've got to describe what you did. Here's another entry from the AAPSL. Research most recent with school report card and accreditation report information to use in the school profile, AAPSL Task 1. Here is just a regular clinical supervised home soccer game. The very first entry, co-led new student orientation. Here's another one, worked with school counselor on student scheduling changes, worked with Power School data manager. So you should see that sprinkled in there with the work of the AAPSL are also your regular clinical hours, which, by the way, are those things that you should be reflecting upon in your task 5, in your reflections. So any questions on that? And so going along with that, I don't know if I have that pulled up. Let me pull it up right quick. Let's look at, I think it is in with the internship resources.
Dr. Revis, while you're pulling it up, just remember too, go back in the documents that we've given you and know that the hours that we said you could use the AAPSL, claim for the AAPSL, but then go back and look at those remaining hours, where 70 hours have to come from leadership opportunities. So that means when you turn them in this time, if you're turning in half of it, that means 35 hours should be reflected with leadership. 10 hours should be reflected with technical knowledge, and then 5 hours with supervision. That's what we should see at this time.
All right, just as a reminder, this is new for all of us this semester, the 200 hours. And so to help you with that, what we did is we said you're allowed to have up to 10 hours from task 1. Now, folks, you may not have 10 hours in task 1 that you can document. Remember, you cannot count the time you're actually writing the narrative work. All right. And then you can document 5 hours for your work on your competency folio.
Okay.
So 10 hours for each of those 5, and 5 hours, of course, that's 55 hours, can come from your AAPSL. And we should see this documented in your logs this when we look at them next week. All right. Your other remaining hours we should see a variety of these hours. You've got another 100 hours total. We should see 50 hours among these. As Dr. Stedman said, we force you to show that the most of your hours come from leadership. And then 20% of your hours from technical and 10%, no more than 10% from supervision. And of course, you've got to document 100 hours. And we should see 50 from here. No, excuse me, 45 from here and 55 from your AAPSL. Okay.
Okay.
Now, where do you put this? So I should have had Taskstream pulled up. I apologize. I do not.
That's
And
okay.
if anybody has already started working in Taskstream with your logs, if you could just put into chat box, I've started working uploading. And I'll tell you why in just a minute, if you'll put that in your chat box.
Dr. Revis, while you pulling that up, I apologize. I jumped ahead of you and I didn't realize that you were going to pull that up. I apologize.
When I don't know if I can pull it up because I don't think any of mine.
No, I'm talking about the hours.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine.
I got ahead of you.
I don't know if any of mine have done anything. Let's look and see. See, my crazy computer. I'm gonna pull up C4. See, no work has been submitted, so I can't show.
Go to C2.
Looking at my screen, look at this crazy thing. See, it goes black. You have to guess.
Okay.
I don't think I can.
Okay.
Jeffrey, have you started submitting?
No, I haven't.
Let me check the chat box.
Well, Caroline did, but you said she's in C2, but there's nothing, you said there's nothing showing in C2.
Yeah. Caroline, do you mind sharing your screen? Let me stop share.
Sure, I'll share it.
I want to just refresh your memory where you upload your log.
Share screen. I have a quick question.
Sure.
This is Adrian. On my my log, the log that I pulled up, I don't know. Some of them, I guess the one that you just looked at has the competency and the where you will put leadership or technology, but the one I pulled up doesn't have that one. So
That
do
is
I need to
correct.
find another one?
No, that was the one we revised just to help everybody kind of track where you're putting most of your time in. If you've pulled it up, it's just a Word document. You can add that column in, Adrian.
Okay.
And I would do that. I would suggest you do that because
Okay.
it makes it very clear to Dr. Revis and me at this point, when we're looking at it. So I would advise all of you to add that column in there.
Okay.
All right, so she's in her competency folio, guys. Not where you go to upload your AAPSL final evidence. All the way to the bottom. Internship logs. Caroline, can you click there and show us what shows up?
Yep. All the way here to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the internship log right here.
Go ahead and click that link if you don't mind.
Okay. And then I went over here to attachment. And then I uploaded it, saved it, returned it, and then of course I had to submit it.
Okay. Now at the end of the semester, you'll have 2 submissions. That's okay. Because you're going to put them all together at the very, very end, or we may tell you to go back and add on to it and resubmit it. We'll make that decision later. All right, Caroline, go back, if you don't mind, to where you see the list of all competencies on your left-hand side.
Okay.
Communication was one you had to do. It's the very first one. Caroline, can you open that one up? All right. So she hasn't submitted anything here. But again, as we talked last time, make sure if it says AAPSL that you are submitting something from your AAPSL work. If it says open-ended, that's from your clinical work, not the AAPSL work that you're getting to count for your clinical, but true clinical school leadership work. If you talk about leadership within your classroom, I send it back.
Right.
It's leadership within your school. And for most of these, you write the brief description. Remember the naming conventions. You want to put fall 2023, AAPSL, and put your brief description, no more than a couple sentences. Tell us what it is. And then most of the time, you're going to upload your artifacts as attachments.
Right.
Almost all the time.
And remember that example, Anara's example showing perfectly how it's done is in Blackboard for you to pull up. So you've got how it should look.
Caroline, stop share right quick. Let's pull that up one
no,
more time.
wait a minute, Caroline. Now go back up to where communication is. Dr. Revis taught about this, the three evidences. So remember, for communication, you have no option but to do which one of those three this time?
AAPSL.
The AAPSL. You have to do the AAPSL because you're in the AAPSL this semester. The PSYOP you haven't done yet, so that will come at the end your last semester. So next semester you'll do the open-ended. Anywhere there is an AAPSL, you do it this time. Okay.
Where do we submit our evidence for our internship log?
There are no evidences that you need for your internship log.
Okay.
You just the document that you submitted, that's it, Caroline.
Your evidence for your internship log can be found in here in your competency folio.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because of what? Okay.
Now there is a column that says artifacts. That's just for you to keep up with where you file them. Okay.
And remember, that is a good, while you're working on your internship log, that's a good way of identifying artifacts that you can actually go back and use in your folio whenever you're looking for artifacts too. So that's a cross-reference there.
Adrian, did you have a question?
No,
I'm
Liz,
sorry, I got the word in my hand.
Liz does.
Oh, okay. Liz?
I'm sorry if you explained this, but when we did the AAPSL task 5 and we did all 12 of those competencies, can we copy what we wrote in task 5 and put it in Taskstream for the competencies? Or are we supposed to narrow it down even to like 3 sentences?
Narrow it down. That you don't need that whole full narrative in there again. You just need a brief explanation of what the artifact is.
And we can use what we did in task 5 exactly the same over here. We don't have to think of different examples. Is that right?
That is correct.
You can pull
Okay.
from that, yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
And in fact, this example here of Anara's, I think she's written too much. I'm not going to read all that stuff. Okay. Don't tell me what the competency is about. I know that. All you need to do is tell me what is the artifact. And notice hers was in fall 2017. She's got fall 2017 AAPSL, her description. And then down here on her artifact, it's labeled the same way, or it should be. AAPSL Communication, Fall 2017. And let me tell you why this is important. Next semester, whoever looks at this is going to have 2 artifacts in there. They're not going to want to try to figure out which artifact goes with which description. That's why you label them by semester and tell whether it's from the AAPSL, open-ended, or PSYOP.
Okay, Amber?
In this instance.
I just wanted to make sure for the internship log, do we need to fill out the columns for the competency?
Not for us, that's for you. That's for your tracking purposes. But no,
Okay,
in
so
there, and it's not, if you do it, put it in there, it only makes your document much more accomplished looking.
okay,
And
thank
remember,
you.
we want those logs typed. Okay. And there is a Word version. If not, it's a simple spreadsheet. Make it up. And it has to look like that, but
Okay, and my second question, can I add rows onto the Word document?
Yes.
definitely. Mhm.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's just a guide for you to go by. Okay, Julie?
So just to clarify, as an example, if one of our tasks for the clinical internship was to go to a board meeting and we took a picture of us attending the board meeting, could we upload that as evidence for system thinking?
As long as your narrative supports that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, just
Yeah.
describe what it's a picture of.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's good, Julie. Okay. Okay, Dr. Revis, I think we've covered that enough.
Any more questions on anything with finishing up the AAPSL? Because after tonight, we're not going to talk about it anymore. Except with the case study.
Right, because now that is actually due this Sunday. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
This Sunday, you've got several things that need to be finished, and we'll go over those.
All right.
I'm going to stop here, Dr. Stedman.
Okay, and we're going to go on to, let's go on to the case study because that's got to be a priority for them this week too, during the week, Dr. Revis. And that is one of the last assignments for the AAPSL. Let me take that down for right now and let me come over here. Okay. In your Blackboard course shell, over to the left, can everybody see this? Under peer review materials, you'll see case study materials. This is where you're going to go. You're going to click on that. Okay. For the AAPSL case study, there's 3 things that you've got to be concerned about. Dr. Revis, I'm going to start with case study directions. Okay. This will apply for the AAPSL, and when you do the case study for the AAPTEL, you'll use these same directions again. This is what you're going to do individually. I'm going to show you what you're going to read, but you're going to read your case study and you're going to write a 1-paragraph response for each of the questions. And I'll show you those questions. You're going to write them ahead of the time that you have your meeting with your Zoom team. The Zoom master schedules, and you've got to decide as a group, who is the Zoom master going to be this time? They sent out the link just like you did with your other activity, and they're going to record the case study Zoom session. Remember, Dr. Revis spoke to you previously about the scholarly discussions, those starters and things, and she'll mention that again in just a moment. Now, during the case study session, each team member shares their written response, and the group then engages in a scholarly discussion of the responses led by the Zoom master. Now, the Zoom master, when I say each one, the Zoom master may say, okay, Julie may be the Zoom master, and she may say, okay, Amber, share your response with question 1. She may get another person to share there, but now if there may not be enough time for everybody to share out on every one of the questions. So the Zoom master must keep it flowing. And then if you can come back to it, you can always come back and reflect on some things later on. But just make sure that you have time to cover everything. And then after that, after the whole session's over with, you're charged with writing a 1-page, 2-part reflective summary of both the case study and the case study Zoom session. So you're going to write a reflection. You're not going to regurgitate what you read. It's a reflection on what you read, the case study. And then the second thing, you're going to reflect on the case study experience with your team. So it's a 2-part reflective summary. Reflect on the case study, and secondly, reflect on the case study experience, the overall experience, lessons learned, just point out. And again, it's a good summary, a good, strong paragraph for each one of them. I would say a good 1-pager, wouldn't you, Dr. Revis, on that?
Yes, a good 1-pager. And also, it's not your opinion. I had to step away. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
It's not your opinion that we're looking for.
Right.
We are looking for your thoughts backed up either by your research from your readings,
right,
or from the research that you did for task 3, or the process and the work you completed in the AAPSL. Okay?
Okay. Let me do this. Okay.
And when I'm listening and reviewing that video, if I do not hear you support your ideas with research readings or the work of the AAPSL, you will not score 100. This one is based on the work of the AAPSL and what you have learned during the AAPSL. What you have done is a mini school improvement plan, right? And that's what this case study is about.
Okay. I hope I don't mess up. No, I've got, shoot.
You've got a lot of things open, Dr.
I've
Stedman.
got so many things open, and that's my problem, and I'm trying to, so be patient with me. Let me go back to, okay, here we are. Let me go back down to, over here. Okay. Case study materials again. Okay, Dr. Revis, I'm going to open up this is where you will actually find your case study. And Dr. Revis, would you like to comment on that?
Well, this is about a new leader who was assigned and moved from a teacher to a school principal, and some of the things that he did. He was told to look at a particular area of the curriculum for improvement on student learning scores and growth. And it's just the process that he went about in order to approve those student learning results.
Okay.
And so,
go ahead.
And so what you're going to do after you read it, you're going to think about, now, how is what he did compared to what I know should be done. He did a lot of things right on, spot on. He wasn't out in left field, but you talk about, remember, you've got to compare that to what you know to do about improving student learning.
And Dr. Evans, like this first question, what do you think? Now, this is your opinion. What do you think of the way James handled his particular situation, considering his limited background? It's your opinion based on what you've learned, what the research says. It's your opinion based on your knowledge of what you've learned in the AAPSL process so far. What more could be done to help the reading scores in this school? Now, some of this can be experience, based on your work, but based on the research and your readings, how are you going to support that? What additional resources could James utilize to help the school improve? Again, it's your opinion, but back it up. Back up everything that you do. What could he be sacrificing, if anything, by placing an extraordinary emphasis only on the reading program? It's loaded. It's loaded. And I always love to see you in action on this assignment.
And I just think it's a good opportunity to take a real life case, a scenario that you may or may not face at some point, and see what you would do as a result of what you've learned so far. And guys, face it, when you become a principal, your first principalship, you're probably going to have areas for growth and improvement. You need to know what to do to address that.
Okay, and when you get through with all of this, once you have had your Zoom meeting with your team, there'll be three things that you'll have. You'll have the link from the Zoom session that your team captain, the Zoom leader, sends you. It'll all be the same thing. Dr. Revis and I will review them. Then this is where you click. Okay. This is where you're going to submit for a final grade. Okay. You're going to create some submission. You're going to upload your files. Now, what are your files? Again, it's going to be the Zoom link, and it's going to be the reflection, the two-part reflection that you have after the Zoom meeting. What about the answers to my 4 questions? We don't want them. That will be, we'll know what you did when you are sharing out with the group. We don't need to see them. However, Dr. Revis, if they submit them, I don't care. I mean, but
Right.
That's not a requirement. We're going to look at how well you share that information from your pre-reading going into the Zoom session. We want to hear you talk about it, and we want you to share. That's just preparing you in advance of the actual Zoom meeting. And then you're going to submit this, and it will go to Blackboard for a final grade once it's all done. And again, we're gonna look strongly at how well you articulate your knowledge based on the reading and the research that you've done with the app. So that's going to be vitally important. Team captains, it's your job to make sure that everybody equally participates in this assignment. Okay? Dr. Revis, did I miss anything?
Well, no, you didn't miss anything. The first Zoom discussion you had, we gave you some prompts. This one, there are no prompts other than you've got the questions. That's what you need to use and go over. And again, the most successful team meetings that I saw were ones in which the Zoom leader had already decided the order in which we would be sharing our answers. And, you know, you need to be prepared, Zoom leaders. You need to have these questions on a slide deck. Don't forget to introduce yourselves and get into the case study questions and making sure everybody has equal opportunity to share.
And again, if Dr. Revis and I are on a team with Amber, when it's my time to speak, make sure you identify who's speaking. Again, we know a lot of you based on, but we don't want to make any mistakes on anything. So just say Amber, and then you speak. You know, so try to remember that. And I know some you'll forget because you'll get caught up in it, but try to the best of your ability to do that, at least initially. Okay.
Any
So,
questions on case study?
everybody good? Okay.
Can we get a thumbs up or thumbs down or sideways?
Okay. And again, use your time wisely. I know you've got a lot going on, but if possible, again, you were used to Thursday nights. If possible, you may want to try to do Thursday night and go ahead and get your Zoom meeting over with this, which would mean that you would have to read your case study and answer those 4 questions prior to Thursday night and be ready. But, you know, if it were me, I would want to go ahead and do it and complete this assignment as soon as possible so that I could get engaged in the other things that's going to be due by the end of the week. No later than, you know, Friday. Once you get on Saturday, it's hard to get everybody together sometimes. So think about that and try to go ahead and knock it out.
And Dr. Stebbin, when is the case study due to us?
Okay, the case study is due, and I'll pull that up. Okay.
It's this Sunday, the 8th,
This
correct?
Sunday, right. I was just making sure. Yes, it's this Sunday. And again, it seems like a lot, but it's really not. It's much less than what you have been doing because so many of you are really at a great place. So you need to go ahead and knock out what you need to knock out with the AAPSL task 1 through 5. Get that behind you. And most of you have already completed that, or you're right at the verge of completing that. So I would say, Dr. Evans, they need to go ahead and knock that out as well. But do it well. Don't rush through it. Do it well.
I want by Sunday evening, I want everybody to the point where they have already turned it in or ready to turn it in.
Right.
On tasks on the AAPSL. Case study is also due Sunday evening at 6. And when are our 12 competencies and 100 clinical hours due, Dr. Steadman?
That's this Sunday as well. It's week 7. It's the halfway mark. Can you work on that?
So you got a lot of things to turn in. It's not, you don't have to pull together a PLC team in your school. That's great. But you do have to put together some things.
And again, I know it can be done because it's been done. I know where many students are, so it's very doable. Elizabeth?
Yes, and I apologize. I couldn't tell if you still wanted questions to wait until the end, but this is about the competencies.
Well, we're at a different place right now, so this is
okay
now.
Okay. So the competencies, because I kind of tracked out the due dates for each week. Obviously with the AAPSL being due, when I'm looking ahead at October 9th through the 15th, the competencies that are listed, as long as we have those uploaded in Taskstream and to you guys, that would cross off the due date for the week of the 15th as well. Is that a second assignment?
That's a second assignment because there's 9 more that you've got to do with the AAPTEL.
Okay, but it's listing on the weekly schedule, it says 12 competencies. So is that the 12 competencies that we're doing?
Week 15?
No, week 8.
We
So
can,
next week.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
well, now what it says on there, it says the 12 competencies for the AAPSL must be completed. But then if you see at the end, this should already have been submitted. That's just a reminder.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't a second document. Thank you.
No, that's not a second one. That's just a reminder of what you should have done week 7. There shouldn't be any stragglers, but that's for anybody that has not done what they're supposed to do. Which won't be you, Elizabeth. I know that.
So week 7, let's go back and review. Week 7, Sunday at 6, your case study. Your case study reflections and your Zoom link. AAPSL tasks 1 through 5, either submitted to turn it in or ready to go to turn it in. And I know many of you are way past that. 12 of the competencies for the AAPSL in your competency folio, and 100 hours into your clinical log.
And I'm going to stop share for right now. Just a minute, Dr. Evans. Okay, Randy.
Yes, sir. When we turn in the 100 hours, does that, like, I know she said you're submitting that as a Word document, correct?
Right.
Okay, so we don't need our clinical advisor to have a signature or nothing like that.
That will come at the end.
Okay.
This is just to keep you on pace. You will have to get the signature for the final submission when you combine this 100 hours with your last 100 hours. Then we will require the signature.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Kizzy?
Okay, so good afternoon. So the 12 competencies, they're due, y'all already reviewed them. So if we need to make any changes, we need to go ahead and do that. And then you'll let us know you'll give us approval to do, like, combine all the tasks and upload it onto Taskstream. Is that what y'all saying? Or
Can't hear you, Dr. Ravis.
I'm sorry, I muted myself. So for the 12 competencies in Taskstream, those are uploaded individually in your competency folio. That's where you'll write a brief description and your artifact. Is that answering your question, Kizzy?
yes, because I didn't know we had to upload it to Taskstream. I just knew that we just got finished writing it for you all and y'all were reviewing it. And I know we're supposed to combine all the tasks, but we're going to actually upload it to Taskstream after y'all review it, right?
The task 5 is different from Taskstream.
Yeah, I
The
know task
competency
5 is
folio.
different from Taskstream. I know it's pretty much the same thing and how we had to write out each competency.
It's the same
That's all.
competencies, yeah. Okay, got you.
Okay.
Okay. Got you. Okay. Jasmine?
Do we have to have an evidence for each of the 12 competencies when we upload it to Taskstream?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Adrian?
This is just, I know this is a repeat from what everybody's saying, but I have to make sure I have it straight in my head. So this Sunday at 6, we have to put the stuff in Taskstream, the 12 competencies by 6 o'clock. We have to have, trying to get it up. We have to do our Zoom,
Right.
have that to you guys, and which also includes the reflection for the thingy.
Right.
Mhm.
The 2-part summary. Yeah.
The 2-part reflection, right? And that's it. That's it then, right? The 3 things.
No, you've got to also have, if you've not already done so, put all of your AAPSL tasks ready 1 through 5 for my review and it ready to go to Taskstream.
Okay. So once you look at that, you'll let me know, okay, you can put it in Taskstream. So I gotta wait
sure
for you
will.
to let me know about that.
Yes.
Okay. But all that's due on Sunday.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
So map your time out, all of you. Okay.
And if
Brandon?
if you've cleared all the individual tasks, and I always tell you, you are now ready to put them together. Don't wait on that. Okay, go ahead and get that knocked out.
And those of you that have completed already and submitted, once you get past putting them together, the rest of it, it goes bang, bang, bang. It doesn't take long to do the rest of it. Am I right, Jeffrey? Right. It doesn't take long to do that.
Yeah.
So, Amy, am I right? Okay. So, everybody, once you get them combined and get approval, the rest of it, it's not a long process. So, and
No, we get the Turnitin report. If it's working, we get Turnitin almost instantly.
right. And then if everything's okay, we can tell you to go ahead immediately and submit to Taskstream for evaluation. Okay. Okay, Brandon?
It's kind of like the same question. I'm confused on the 12 competencies. Like what exactly are the 12 competencies? I know we had to write about them in our narrative, but like what is the difference between that and transporting it to the task string? I'm lost there.
The biggest difference, Brandon, is in Taskstream in your competency folio, you have to produce the artifact, the evidence,
Right.
the
Okay.
thing. Okay.
For instance, Brandon, let's say, remember in task 1 of the AAPSL, and I'm using this as an example, communication. That's a
Right.
requirement. Okay. You talked about communication, but one of the things that you did, you had to communicate with your principal via, remember you had to have send an email and get an email response. That's an artifact.
So the same things we put in our appendices, we can use them as artifacts,
You can
basically.
use them again. Yes, you can use some of them again. You won't always use them, but you've got a lot of stuff already there that you can pull from and use.
Okay.
So that's
Now-
a simple one. That's a simple one to use.
Now, let me just say this, Brandon. You can't use the same artifact more than, I don't like to say more than
Let's say
one.
one time, Dr. Revis.
Yeah.
One time.
So once you use that email to your principal about starting the PLC, you don't use it again. All right.
Okay. Does that clarify, Brandon? And then if after you think about it, Brandon, if you need to call either of us, call us, okay? Okay, we'll be okay. Okay. Dr. Revis, I'm still thinking that we need to do what we have planned to do for those that are ready. And I'm going to preface it with okay, AAPTEL template. Okay, I'm going to preface it with this. We're introducing it to you for those that are ready, and there are some that will be ready. Then take it and move on. Next Monday, we're going to have the town hall, but it's called town hall because that's the way it's written in there. But I've talked with Dr. Lamb, and we're going to use town hall on that Monday to fully introduce the AAPTEL. We're going to go over all 4 tasks of the AAPTEL with you. Then on Tuesday, we will focus on task 1 and on task 2 of the AAPTEL. You know why we're having to do 2? Because the next week, week 9, is spring break, and you have to continue working, but there won't be any classes on week 9. But your work is still due. So we've got to get this across to you, clearly across to you, before you go on spring break, so you can fall break, so you can use your time wisely and get your work done. And then on Thursday, we will have our last coaching session, official coaching session for this semester. And then Dr. Lamb is going to come back and he's going to go over Qualtrics with you again and do some other stuff, because you will have to actually use Qualtrics with your work with the AAPTEL. So we're going to just give you a brief introduction tonight, and it's going to be enough that you can go ahead and have an understanding. And then when we come on board on Monday, and then we have class on Tuesday, it should all gel together. Again, nothing has changed except we're going into a new evidence 2. We started with the students, and that's where you always begin because that's what school's all about. And finding academic success and growing and making changes where there are deficits in the learning process. Evidence 2 is going in a new direction. As a leader, as a principal, as an assistant principal, remember, it's your job to work and to train teachers. You're not, as a leader, you're not there, you're for the students, but you don't teach students. That's why you have teachers. So you're going to make sure that the teachers are where they need to be so that they can work with your students effectively to produce the student growth and success that you want. So evidence 2, the AAPTEL, is an analysis and action plan for teacher empowerment and leadership. Dr. Revis, we're looking at 2 things. We're looking at leadership in the classroom, and we're going to look at leadership outside that classroom for the teacher. Leaders, we're analyzing 2 things. What does leadership look like in the classroom? And if they're in the classroom, who are they working with? The students. If they're working outside the classroom, it's all that stuff you do as those of you that are classroom teachers that don't, it's not in the classroom, but it's a part of the learning and growing process for your school. What are those leadership opportunities? Or we will find out what are those leadership opportunities that are not happening. We're going to find out what is happening, what is not happening, and your research is going to help direct that process. Again, the only thing that's going to be different is going to be evidence 2 on your title page and your name here. That will change. Your school profile does not change. So you will use the template that's in Blackboard. And remember, if it's in black, that means it stays there. If it's in yellow, that means that it's narrative work. If it's red, that means that those are some good suggestions of things that you could use in the writing process. So I'm going to take the template out, and then I'm going to go to, the template out, and now I'm going to go to, well, actually, Dr. Revis, you did, no, I'll come at the end with that. Let's go to the AAPTEL Helpful Hints document. And all I'm going to do, or all Dr. Revis and I are going to do, we're going to take you through task 1 so that you can get your mind wrapped around that. And those that are ready can go ahead and move forward with this. The AAPTEL is the second of 6 evidences that you're going to complete in this program. And again, I've already said you're going to use the same format as you did with the AAPSL. Cover page, I've already said that. The school profile, I've already said that. So let's introduce you to task 1, prompt 1. Dr. Revis, would you like to take it from there?
Okay, sure. In prompt 1, it's a lot of research. And you do this research on your own. You don't have to have a PLC with you when you do this research. But you have, how many headings? 6 headings?
There's
5 headings. 5 headings. And for each heading, you are going to be researching what best practices says If you are building efficacy and empowerment among staff, what should that look like? So this is research. You have to have at least 3 references. And yes, here comes that old APA style guide again. You've got to be able to cite your references in text and in the reference section.
And
So
don't backslide on us. You already know how to do this. Do not backslide on us.
please, it's the same thing we've been doing. So you want to tell what teacher efficacy is. You would want to tell about what teacher empowerment is and what that may look like in schools that have both of those things. Okay.
And again,
So-
let me go back to that seminal researcher, Dr. Revis, Bandura, that you had to mention already.
Mhm.
But you're just taking this much deeper than you did. That was just a little bit of icing on the cake before.
Let me tell you some other researchers that have done some work here. Todd Whitaker has done things on teacher empowerment. Hattie has done some work in these 2 areas of building efficacy and teacher empowerment. And then, of course, Bandura.
Right. And there's so many more out there. Those are just
Right.
those are good starters for. So the first heading is building efficacy and empowerment among staff. That's your heading. And then you're going to do your research on that with a minimum of 3 references. Okay, the second heading is going to be, and there's an example of what this looks like. We put an example in there. The second one is based on what the research says, you're going to look for results-oriented professional development, not just plain results-oriented professional development. What does the research say? Dr. Revis, I know there's somebody you want to mention that we better see their name under this as well.
We need to see Linda Darling Hammond. Linda Darling Hammond. Another researcher, your choice, Gusky, has done a lot of work in professional development, and I'm sure there are others. But Darling Hammond has done some of the most extensive research. I would have to say she's probably the seminal researcher here.
I would say so too. And you're going to see her name attached to a lot of the researchers, the newer researchers. You're going to see her name attached to it because they have gleaned their research from and grown it from the work that she originally did. See right there, there's her name. That's incorrect, but there's her name. Okay. Hold your thought just a minute, Renee. Well, no, go ahead, Renee. Go ahead.
Thank you. You mentioned 2 authors or researchers. What was the second one?
On which one, Renee?
Heading number 2.
Oh.
Linda Darling Hammond and Gusky.
Yes.
That one.
Spell
Gusky.
it, Dr. Revis. Can you spell it?
Guskey, I believe. And I can't remember the first name. Remember, we don't worry about first names. Well, we do, but you know.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and the third heading is going to be recruitment, placement, and mentoring of school staff. Again, what does the research have to say about it? A minimum of 3 references.
And guys, I don't want to know about what goes on in your school here.
Right.
You will discover that later. Right now, tell me what the research says about what are some strong recruiting practices. What do we know about placement of our teachers? And how important is mentoring our new teachers, brand new teachers, and new to the school?
Okay, go ahead. The next one, Dr. Revis.
And I think a good researcher in that section is Ingersoll, Ingersol.
Right.
And there's some others.
You'll see him in a lot of research.
Yeah. All right. The next heading piece of research should be approaches to or for evaluation of school staff. Again, not wanting to know what you do in your school or in your state. We want to know what the research says is effective ways to evaluate school staff, formatively and summatively. I'd love to see some things about walkthroughs in there.
Again,
But
this is not about the students, it's about teachers.
it's about the teachers. And Marzano has done a lot of work on evaluation of school staff. In fact, North Carolina teacher standards is based on a lot of his work.
Look at there, Marzano 2012, right there. And his work is just as real today as it was then.
Right. Again, I don't go into big, long detail about your state observation cycle or your district observation cycle. Tell me what the research says is effective.
Okay, and the fifth heading is teacher leadership and decision making. In other words, based on what the research says, what should teacher leadership look like in a school based on the research? How should teachers be involved in the decision-making process in schools based on what the research says? Now, you're building your foundation with this research for a lot of the rest of the work that you're going to be doing. So those
and
are
Todd Wicker is a big author in this section.
Oh, yes. Yes. Okay, now here it is, and here it is. Go down to here. Each section will have a minimum of 3 references for a total of 15 references minimum. Researchers that should be considered in addition to others include Todd Whitaker, Linda Darling Hammond, Robert Marzano, etc. So at a minimum, you're going to have 15 references. But you may have much more than that once you get in there. It's okay. Make sure
and we really need to see Whitaker, Darling Hammond, and Marzano in this work.
Exactly. Make sure you follow correct APA. And then, now notice prompt 2. You are creating, not implementing, you are creating. You're going to create 2 things. You're going to create a checklist and you're going to create a survey. Dr. Lamb's going to talk more about that survey next week. Talk about that. But this is what you're going to do. And remember, the survey has to go through Qualtrics. How many of you, just think about this, can't see everybody, but how many of you already have a, well, no, let's look at this. This is, how many have a walkthrough checklist already? You're a walkthrough instrument already at your school that administration uses when they go into the classrooms? Most people do. If you've already got a checklist, that means that it's validated, it's reliable because your district has approved it. You can use that. Right, Dr. Revis?
Exactly.
You can use that. Now, if you don't have one, then you must create one. And actually, somebody created one in task 1 with some, because it aligned with what they were doing. Randy, that may have been you that created that checklist, or you showed that checklist. And there was somebody else that actually created one. I can't remember. It was a female. She created one. But anyway, it's okay to go pull that. If your district doesn't have one, pull what you've created, and you've got to get approval. But the checklist has got to be used for walkthrough purposes. If your district does not have one,
then I would suggest using the Marzano's checklist of best practices.
Marzano's checklist, that's right. Because it has to be validated. but we do encourage you to have your district to move forward with one, and that person that created one already, that's what you can't use it for this. That's right. It has to be validated and reliable and already something that has been used or approved by your district, or the Marzano one that that Dr. Lamb is going to present that to you this coming week. And then the survey is going to be, you're going to look at leadership outside of the classroom. And this neutral will come out. You won't even see a neutral. You'll only see either yes or no, or you'll see 1, 2, 4, and 5. Dr. Evans, we said we were going to remember to take that out, and we didn't again this time. But anyway, there is no neutral with Qualtrics. Okay? We pulled this from an old document. But you're looking at what does teacher leadership look like outside the classroom. And these are some of the questions. Teachers have input on professional development offerings at the school. Yes or no is going to be the easiest one. Either they do or they don't. And you're going to hear Dr. Lamb say that. He likes the yes or no's. Teachers play a role in the development of the school improvement plan. Yes or no. Teachers play a role in setting school-wide policy. And again, a lot of these are very similar. If you have taken the teacher working conditions survey, you can find these embedded in the teacher working conditions survey. And then in South Carolina, you may not have the teacher working conditions survey, but you've got some similar instruments that's built in your evaluation process that has this information embedded in there. But we're not asking for a long list of things. We're looking at anywhere from like 5 to 8 items in and you will actually put this into Qualtrics. You will develop your survey, get it approved by Dr. Lamb, and you will get permission to send this out to the teachers at your school. And you're going to use this. But right now, you're not doing anything but showing us what that instrument is going to look like. What is the walkthrough instrument looking like? What is the survey instrument going to look like? You're not using them yet. That comes in another task. All we're doing now is saying, yes, Brandon, you can use this walkthrough instrument. Yes, Brandon, you can use this survey. That's all we're doing right now. Okay.
And guys, I would just say, don't make this difficult.
Right.
Rather than you trying to create a survey and doing all the metrics on it, use this one. This is from Todd Whitaker's work.
Right.
And this is the one you need to use. And it's already been validated. And through Qualtrics, you can get those metrics too. But, don't spend a lot of time on that stuff.
Right. You don't have time for one thing. And then this further talks to you about the survey, the checklist, and other pertinent information.
And if your school doesn't have a checklist, just use the one we provided. Marzano's Highly Effective Strategies.
And again, Dr. Lamb, that is going to be, he's going to camp out there on Thursday. Now, Tuesday, we will go ahead and we will go over, heavily go over this again. And on, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. But this will get you started because we have no choice but to give you everything that you're going to need for 2 weeks, since you're not going to be here week 9. Your work is still due. Dr. Evans and I will send you out reminders before that week's over, or sometime during the week, just like we won't be there on Tuesday, but we'll send you reminders out on Tuesday to say that this is what you need to be doing and completing this week. And we're still available if you need to call us for something during that week. We're still available. Okay?
But
Okay.
first and foremost, you gotta get all your stuff in for this week, this Sunday.
Right.
And I know that Dr. Stedman, you've got some people who are ready to go here
Right.
and
that's
start doing this
why I felt
research.
like I needed to go ahead and at least expose.
Yeah.
Okay, Adrian?
The town hall on Monday, is that something that we have to go to? I haven't heard of it until now.
It's in your, well, if you go look at your agenda today, and it's mapped
It's
out
in there.
in Blackboard, it was in Blackboard that week 8, there would be a town hall.
Okay, and it's in the week 7's agenda?
It's in week 7, everything's in there. What should have already been done for week 6, what is due week 7, and then a look at week 8 is in there.
So there's like a link or something for that?
There's a link already created for that, yes.
Okay.
And it's in there. You'll find it. And we'll send that link out again as a reminder to everybody. Okay. But next Thursday, you'll use that recurring link that you use for the first 4 coaching sessions. Okay. Monday will be a different link, and we'll send that link out. But Thursday will be the one that you've always used on Thursday nights.
So next week is a pretty busy week. You've got 3 nights, 3 meetings. And that will probably be the last Thursday night, won't it, Dr. Stedman, I believe?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And then you've got, like I said, the week off. Then you've got 3 weeks that you will go intensely. Then week 13, we don't require you to come online. However, Dr. Revis and I come online for anybody that has questions. We're online for about 30 minutes and longer if we need to, but no more than 30 minutes if nobody shows up. But we come online, but we give you that night to work on trying to get stuff, bringing closure to stuff towards the end of the semester. Okay.
Guys, you've been doing some really great work. You're halfway there. You're really a little over halfway there, I think.
You are. They are.
You know, just keep working and roll your sleeves up, and you're gonna be fine.
And just remember what we shared with you tonight about the AAPTEL. That is not due this week. That's just a pre-introduction of what next week's going to look like for anybody. There's some that will go ahead and get started on that. I have no doubt. So.
Well, I would. It would just make it easier. And it's just the research. You go, you can go and use any of the resources in Blackboard that we have. You can go to a Bulldog One search. It takes time to do that. So if you've got extra time, do it.
Right. And you know what to do now. You've already gone the process. You've learned it. You know what to do. So go for it. Okay.
So really quickly, the only place that we put our hours is in Taskstream?
Yes.
Okay.
And remember, it's just for review now. Okay, and Adrian, yours is going to come to me. Okay, Alicia.
And when you upload it, be sure you don't put it in your DRF folio where you're uploading your AAPSL. Don't put it in that folio. It has to go in your competency folio where Caroline showed you.
And listen,
right.
When you run into a kink, reach out to somebody in your Zoom team and say, look, I need some help with this. They can tell you sometimes easier than Dr. Revis and I can, because we don't always see what you see, but they do. So
Caroline, when you went in and uploaded your log, did you see my name as an option to click on?
No, I did not. There was no option at all, Stedman or Revis.
Okay. All right, we'll have to work on that, Dr. Stedman.
Okay. Okay, Alicia?
I needed a moment after you're done with everyone. It's not for public.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, any more questions? Okay, guys, we will see you on on Monday
Monday.
and get the work to us, okay? Okay. Bye.
Have a good evening, rest of your week.
Started again. Okay. I'm going to end the session
And I'm leaving.
and I'll see you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.